Shout out to G-Man Boxing.
Alright, people. So, the weekend, Terence Crawford beat David Avanesyan. Stopped him brutally in the 6th round. Was a kind of right hook slash straight right. Was more a hook. It was a brilliant shot that put David Avanesyan down for the count. Very good knockout. Crawford looked in control of that fight the whole way through. But the interesting thing about this fight was going from the 5th round into the 6th round. The referee went to Crawford's corner and they were showing that the gloves were showing signs of serious amounts of wear. Not just one, but both. Now, in the past that's happened, famously is the Muhammad Ali Henry Cooper, I believe was the second fight where Ali got dropped the cut glove. Where I think the glove was already damaged, but I think Angie Dundee exasperated the damage, so they had to change the glove. And a very famous example, that was just prior to Ali fighting Liston. I think he fought Liston in his next fight. Pretty sure he did anyway, but that was the Henry Cooper fight. Now, it was the first Henry Cooper fight, I think, as well. Now, in this fight, went from the 5th round into the 6th round. They really should have changed the gloves. If there's any hint of damage, or if padding has come loose, or there's tears in the gloves, they need to be changed instantly. Right? But they didn't in this one. Now, images emerged of the gloves post-fight. I seen Russ Amber share this image on Twitter. Now, he's stating, and I'm stating as well in this video, that these are allegedly the gloves Crawford wore. They look fairly similar. They're Mexican Everlast. They look almost identical. And if you've seen the picture, I'll try and get it in this picture, but the shot is so close up, it might be hard to edit the picture into it. But it'll probably be in the thumbnail anyway. But if you look at the gloves, if these are the gloves, there is no way in hell those gloves were new. They were 100% used gloves. There is no way in hell. If those gloves in that picture are the ones Crawford used, you will never convince me that those gloves are fresh, brand new. And they went that way. Now, Everlast do have a bit of a reputation for building gloves that don't tend to last too well. I think a few people have said that. More so the power locks. If you ever buy a pair of training power locks, you tend to have very short shelf life with them. The padding tends to go away. They tend to just lose their colour. The Everlast logo disappears pretty quick. They don't tend to last very long. But that's a training glove. And when you say don't last very long, you're probably going to get a decent enough time out of them, but just compared to, say, like Flies or Rivals. Now, these are fight gloves. These should literally be only worn on that day. So they should not be falling apart as they look in the picture. It looks like that kind of side of it there is coming loose. The thumb, and MX Everlast, they do have a reputation for having the thumb deforming on the inside and on the outside. They do have a reputation for having really poorly built. Cause that's why people who wear them tend to injure. Well, they obviously do tend to injure their hands if they wear Mexican Everlast more often than not, because there's so little padding in them. It's mainly horsehair. But more often than not, they actually injure their thumb, because the thumb in Mexican Everlast gloves, if you ever worn them, is not great. They're not built great. It's a very, very poor build quality on them. I think Canelo Alvarez, when he fought Liam Smith, he injured his thumb because he wore Mexican Everlast that fight. Now, Russ Amber is insinuating that these are used. If that is the case, then that's a damning indictment on the is it Nebraska? Isn't that where Omaha, Nebraska? Isn't it? Yeah, I think that's where he's from. So if it's the Nebraska State Athletic Commission, then questions need to be asked. Questions really need to be asked about those guys, because Russ Amber, for those who don't know who Russ Amber is, you'll often see him in the corner as a cut man. He's the cut man for Usyk, I believe. Lomachenko, definitely. I think he does the cuts for Callum Smith as well. He is, correct me if I'm wrong on this, he's either the managing director or he's the CEO of Rival. So Rival, the glove manufacturer. He might even be is he the founder? He's very high up in Rival, I know that. So this is a guy who knows his boxing gloves to a T, and he is saying that if these are the real ones, these are 100% used. Now, why the hell, in a professional boxing fight, world title level, would one fighter even be allowed to wear used gloves that are ripping to pieces? Why the hell would they not be changed in between rounds? And interestingly, is it Carl Graves, who's the manager and trainer of David Avanesyan, allegedly they weren't even allowed to inspect the gloves beforehand. Now again, These are allegations that are being made. I'm not saying they're smoking gun facts, but if these allegations turn out to be true, then there needs to be some serious investigation going on there. Because that sounds as corrupt as anything. That sounds just blatant corruption if that's the case. Because if you are actually going in there and letting a fighter use gloves that are worn down to bits, because if you're fighting a glove that's worn down, it's not going to A, protect the fighter's hand as well, but B, it's also going to probably lose some of its padding, it's going to be a bit deformed, and it's going to probably increase the chances of the opponent getting hurt. And we obviously saw Avanesyan get knocked out. And the fact of the matter was, if these broke down as badly as they did during the fight, there's no way you could ever allow a fight to continue without changing those gloves and putting fresh ones on. You do know that most fighters, when they get to an arena, it's not one pair of gloves, there you go, you're stuck with them. There are several different pairs. They can try them on. Now, they'll probably all, unless some instances they might have a fly or they might have a grant, a bit like what Kell Brook had when he fought Amir Khan. He went to the ring in fly gloves, but he had to change the grants because Amir Khan didn't want him to use the fly gloves, bizarrely, because fly gloves are actually less of a puncher glove than grant, to be honest, which the foam is a bit softer in fly. It's more dense in grant, so you will get a bit more of a smacking effect, unless they've changed it. Because I have a 2019 pair of fly, it's a very soft foam. It's not like winning foam, where that's really soft and spongy, but it's pretty soft. They're good for protecting your hands. They're very comfy fly gloves. But it's not like, it's not like they only got one pair. They have multiple pairs, sometimes different brands. So surely they could, and he always uses Everlast, does Terence Crawford. So surely they had other pairs in the back they could have put on. If what Russ Amber is showing, those pictures are true, and if in fact what Carl Graves is saying about not even being allowed to inspect the gloves, that is extremely worrying. That's extremely worrying, and that really does hint at corruption, if that's the case. That hints that David Avanesyan, even if he turned up and, channeled Sugar Ray Robinson and put on the performance of his life, was never going to win that fight. That's kind of how it seems, because people talk about corruption in boxing. They look at the Daniel Dubois, Kevin Lerena fight, and they say, oh, there you go, British boxing. Well, I would say, look, I don't know if that fight was fixed or not. It definitely looked a bit suspicious. There was suspicious moments in there, certainly, but this is universal in boxing. You look at cards in Spain, you look at cards in Italy, you look at cards in America, and are they any less the word corrupt? The promoters over there, the cards over there, the fights and the fighters, both fighters going in, is there any less corruption there than there is in the UK? I don't think so. And if this is the case, if we're talking about a world title fight with one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and they're letting them use worn gloves, allegedly, right? Certainly there was damage to the glove going from the 5th to the 6th. I mean, that we can pretty much say definitely happened. But also, if they're not letting the opponent's team inspect the gloves beforehand, serious questions need to be asked. Serious questions need to be asked about that. I think that, that really is, and that really is bad. I'll just leave it there. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole with that, but also I wanted to say as well, the fact that they were Mexican Everlast, I can imagine the Wilder fanboys are going to have an absolute field day on that, because obviously there was a lot of, they made it out as though Fury cheated in the second fight by using gloves that were illegal, by showing footage of the first fight where he wore Everlast MX, and they were saying, see, those gloves are clearly illegal, that's how he won. It was like, he didn't even wear Everlast MX in the rematch, he wore Pfaff and Sport, different brand altogether. I think Pfaff and Sport are made in East Europe somewhere, and Mexican Everlast are obviously, Everlast made in Mexico. Obviously I think Everlast is an American brand, but they're Mexican Everlast, I think they're made somewhere in Mexico. So yeah, strange one. But let me know your thoughts on it. I just thought I'd make a video on this because I've not really heard too many talk about this situation. And to be honest with you, I kind of thought it would just kind of die down. But when I seen these images, if these are true, well, I mean, that's, questions need to be asked. I'll just leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. For now, lads and lassies, I'll talk to you. Peace.